Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Marana Moshe Feinstein's Etzal in Teshuvah discusses if there's any limitation on making Thanksgiving dinner. It looks like that a lot of the Kahal agrees with his Teshuvah, that he says that Thanksgiving is not a religious holiday and therefore there's no problem doing so. And Bli Ayin Hara, the restaurants are all sold out tonight, kosher included. But our neshama needs to eat as well, so if we made it here on Thanksgiving, that's a big thing. I gotta say, I walked into the shul earlier today, like 4:30, or earlier, 4 o'clock, and the place was full of guys learning. And I asked them, what's going on? It's not Kippur, it's not Erev Kippur, it's like, they said, no, we're off from work, it's Thanksgiving, so what are we gonna do all day? We came to learn. And I was so happy, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Hashem Yisrael, Am Yisrael knows how to use time for a good thing. What a beautiful thing. So here are my thoughts on the day. Not on Thanksgiving, on the day as in today. Chodesh Kislev, a couple of weeks off of Hanukkah. Even though the Torah is brought down, the Poskim also machloket, if the idea that Chazal say Shloshim Yom Kodem HaChag, 30 days before a holiday, you start studying about a holiday, it's only about Pesach, Shehilchotav Merubim, that has many halachot, or it's every holiday. So really, many of the Poskim say it's only Pesach. But still, Kislev, I already see they're selling donuts in the stores and everything, you know. The menorah sections are open and everything's running. So we're going to try and somehow combine a little bit of the parasha, a little bit of Kislev / Hanukkah, and a twist of Thanksgiving and see what we come out of. There was a guy, this is not my story, I got this from that wonderful pamphlet that comes out every week, Be'era Parasha, from Rav Yaakov Yagen. Great man who has great stories, and great Torah and great everything. So he wrote, one of the weeks that I read it, there was a great piece in there. He says there was a guy in Israel that he wrote there that he knows, that shared with him, that at one point in his life, he had 5 of his children that were between the age of 21 and 30. It's pretty condensed, but you know, that's the Bnei Brak style. And I don't say that in a negative context. And they were all single. And he was stressing out. Because in his culture, when you're 18, you gotta be married already. And his youngest was already over 18. So there was a crisis at hand. And he didn't know what to do about it. And in case that wasn't enough, he had another problem that hit him. That he signed a guarantor on a loan for a friend to a bank, a personal guarantor on a mortgage. And his friend defaulted on his mortgage. And now they were coming after him for the payments, because he's a personal guarantor. So he has 5 single kids at home, and he's about to lose everything he has too. Let's just say he was in a tough spot. And that's putting it mildly. And he was very lost. So one night, he lived in Bnei Brak. One night he went to Jerusalem. No, sorry, he lived in the southern part of Israel. One night he went to Jerusalem to attend a function, a friend's function, Simcha. And he was in a bad mood, and he doesn't know how to act so well. So when he walked in, his face didn't look so jolly. Today we're good actors in general. Sometimes somebody could be home, and they're not feeling well. They have the flu, let's say. So today when people have the flu, they already think they're dying. Right? The world's about to come to an end, incapacitated. And the guy's in bed all day, doesn't move, and this and that. If it's a male, it's even worse. And the women, you know, they have kids, this, that, somehow they have superpowers. God gives them some power. But guys, you know, the tiniest cold and they're already, you got to get Chevra Kadisha almost to them at that point. The guy's in bed a whole day. It's a Sunday. At 7:45, there's a knock on his door. His wife opens the door, and there's 2 of his friends. What happened? We came to watch football. They have a minhag. Each week they go to a different friend's house, they watch football. They came to watch football. So his wife says, my husband's a cholesh yesh bo sakana. He's an endangered species right now. He's in bed. He didn't move since Friday afternoon. He didn't move. He's in bed already 2 days. Oh my God, what happened? He has the flu. He overhears through the intercom or whatever that his friends are by the door. Suddenly he jumps out of bed. He's gaber kari like a lion. He's dressed in 2 minutes. He's downstairs. Football, bring the beer. Let's go. What happened? That a person has strength for what he wants to do, and he doesn't have strength for what he doesn't want to do. So until the football game came and his friends came, there was no reason to smile. So what does he have to smile for? He's sick. He's a cholesh yesh bo sakana. But now, what do you mean? The game. And my friends. And his friends don't want to be around the cranky guy. So, and an amazing nest happens. Let's say the game is over. I don't know what time Sunday Night Football's over, but let's estimate 10:30, I'm assuming. So if the game is over at 10:30, 10:31, he's back in bed. We went back to square one. The sickness came back. Malach HaMavet showed up again. It's like he went on vacation for 2.5 hours and came back again. Because at that point, again, nothing's important enough to him. So he walked into this simcha with a face of Chabav. And there was a time, believe it or not, that there was such a thing called friends. Today it's hard to believe. But yeah, there used to be a time like that people actually cared about others. And can actually put other people's lives before their own life. And when somebody else was in pain, even if his friend had there were no cell phones, there was no communication, but the other one felt it inside. He knew that his friend was in trouble. That was the way the world was. It's unbelievable. And his friend, even though he was a Baal Simcha, he sees that when his friends come in, it doesn't look good. So forget about my Simcha now. His tragedy is more important. So he goes over to him and he tells him what's going on. So he tells him, what do you mean what's going on? He says, you don't look good. What's happening? So he says, you know very well what's going on. I have 5 kids at home that I can't find a shidduch for. And I have big problems now with money and the banks that are coming after me and that. I'm in big tzodas. I have big problems in my life. That's what's going on. You know that. You don't understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling? So he says, you're right, but until now you were much stronger. Now it seems like it's already affecting you much more. He said, yeah, it's affecting me terribly. And then he tells his friend, he says, what are you going to do for me? A shadchan you're not. A son or a daughter for my kids you don't have. And you're broke too. So you can't help me in any way. To stop, to talk about it. Go, enjoy your simcha. I came to respect, and life goes on. There's nothing that you could do for me anyway. So his friend told him, you're 100% right. There's nothing I can do for you. But a eitzah, piece of advice, that I could give you. So he says, oh yeah, what advice? So he says in Yerushalayim, there's a Rebbe, he's no longer alive for many years, who was the Ger Rebbe, his name was the Beit Yisrael. He says, he's a big tzaddik. He says, I know you don't belong to his sect, but at the end of the day, he's a big tzaddik anyway, whether you like it or not. After you leave my event, you're in Jerusalem anyway, go to the Beit Yisrael, ask him for a blessing, see if he'll give you a blessing. If he gives you a blessing, it might work. He's a powerful man, he's a holy man. So the guy decided, you know what? Nashon HaKodesh, we say, Im lo yo'il lo yazik. If it's not going to help, it's not going to do harm, that's for sure. Why not? I'll go get a blessing. So after whatever he left, a few minutes later, he went to go into the Beit Yisrael. Took whatever time, he got himself in, and the Ger Rebbe's, they don't talk much. They're very curt in their language. They say what they have to say in very few words. And he started talking to the Beit Yisrael. He didn't even say his whole story, like what's going on. And the Beit Yisrael looked at him and told him this formula. Listen to this. This might help you in your personal life. This is great. He said, life has to consist of 2 parts. Of being grateful, meaning thankful to Hashem, and of praying, asking for what you need. How do we know what the percentages are? What's the formula? What's the breakdown? So the Beit Yisrael told him, listen, my son, 60% you have to say thank you, 40% you have to ask for what you need. Go home, be matzliach. He left the Beit Yisrael, he went back to his friend, he said, this Rebbe might be a holy man, but he gave me some sort of riddle. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know. And now I'm even more lost, because he obviously wanted to help me. So he gave me the answer, but I don't understand the answer. So his friend told him, why does everything have to be complicated? He told you, take 60% of your thoughts and your time and your prayers and your words to be grateful, to say thank you to God for what you do have. And the other 40%, pray for what you don't have. That's it, very simple. Why does it have to be so complicated? He said, fine. All right, you think so? Yeah, it makes sense. And he said the next morning, he woke up, and before he started getting into a bad mood about all his tough situations, he committed to 60%. He said 60% of my day has to go in a positive way now. So he started programming his brain, self-brainwashing. Life's not so bad, have struggles and that, but we'll get through them. And look at all the good things I have. Thank God I have 5 kids. Some people would do anything in the world to have the 5 children in the first place. Huh? Try to focus on the positive. And he says the whole day, Rebbeinu Shalom, thank you for all the good I have in my life. What am I scared that the bank's going to take away my house? I have a house. People don't have a house. It's also good. I'm like this. And then, a little bit, at the end of the day, he adds in his prayers for whatever he needs. Listen to what the guy says. Told Rav Biderman. I read this in the pamphlet. He said within 6 months, from the day he went into the Beit Yisrael, 3 of his kids were already married, and 2 more were engaged. Wow. 5 for 5. And his friend squared up with the bank, and his house was saved. Not a bad gig, no? That's a pretty good statistic right there. That's 6 for 6 in 6 months. And he said that ever since then, he sticks with that formula. When he told us Rav Biderman was a brilliant man on every front that you can think of, and a huge Talmid Chacham as well. So Rav Biderman said, I have an explanation for you, what the Beit Yisrael meant. So this explanation is going to be understood better by our dear Ashkenaz friends, because we do it a little differently in our prayer. But when Ashkenaz say Hallel, they say Hodu 6 times throughout Hallel, and they say Ana Hashem 4 times throughout Hallel. Ana Hashem we also say 4 times throughout Hallel, but we don't say Hodu so many times because we don't repeat Hodu in the middle of Hallel the way they do it. But Hodu means to be thankful. Ana is to ask, please. That's what the Beit Yisrael told them. 60-40. 6 times Hodu, 4 times Hallel. 4 times Ana. Took him years to figure it out. He had to meet Rav Biderman to help him out with the formula, but he helped him. He got the formula right. This is a unbelievable strategy for, if you want to see how much that story meant to me when I read it, I actually took a piece of paper, it was a receipt from a bank, and I took a pen over there, and I wrote it down on the spot. I said, I can't forget this one no matter what, then I wrote it on the back of a Capital One bank. They owe me an advertising fee now. But yeah, it was amazing. So here we got a little bit of a formula for life. So the Goyim have one day a year Thanksgiving. The rest of the year is complaining. And even on Thanksgiving, they're busy complaining. I heard the news a little bit today when I was on the Van Wyck, and all I heard was a bunch of negativity. And I said, this is the one day that they're supposed to say thank you for something? And even that I can't get? The president's not good, and this one's that, and the other one's the other. Each one had something to say bad about everybody. Even one day they can't do. As Jews, at least 60% of the time, we should try and find a formula in life to be thankful. But this Yisod really is the whole foundation of the month of Kislev. When Kislev comes, it's a happy time, because it's the beginning of miracle season. Certain months in the year don't fall in the category of nature, of the natural rules, and you can obtain, both spiritually and materialistically, way beyond what you deserve. Amongst them, Kislev. Some of the Sfarim say Tevet is really part of Kislev because Hanukkah bridges through it. Bnei Sachar says that. It's a little bit of a chidush, but that's what they say. Shvat is Rashi Tevot, Shishma B'sorot Tevot, Adar and Nisan. It's also almost half the year, but fine, that's the way it is. And really, if you think about it, the holidays in these months are all linked in one way or the other. They all have a certain link. And you're going to say Tevet has no holiday. Tevet does. It has a fast day. It's called Asara B'Tevet. It's going to be a big Yom Tov. And it's a Tzom Chamur, it's a stringent fast. That means in theory, it's impossible. But in theory, if it would be able to fall out on Shabbat, we would fast even on Shabbat, even though the other fasts we don't. And if it's a Tzom Chamur, that means it's going to be a big holiday, because the Gemara says that when Inshallah Soon, when Mashiach comes, all the fasts are going to be turned into big Yemei Simcha. Even Tisha B'Av, it says on it that it's a Moed. We don't say Tachanun, Kara Alai Moed. So Tevet has a holiday as well. And they're all directly linked, but this season begins with the holiday season. We went through the holiday season of Rosh Hashanah, and that was one segment of the Jewish calendar, and now we go through the other part of the holidays of the year. The first one, which is technically the first means the foundation, is a little bit unique. Hanukkah. Hanukkah is unique in many ways, but in one, besides the fact that there's no laws almost, other than lighting candles and not fasting maybe, and not saying a sped, and saying Hallel, whatever. We changed the prayer a little bit, but there's no. You could drive, you could go to work, you could do everything. Life goes on. There's no even chiyuv suda. There's no obligation to eat a meal even. There's no nothing. We make festivities because You know, the Ramah brings down, and V'tov lev mishtet tamid. Somebody with a good heart always looks for a reason to make a festivity. Fine, so we found Hanukkah, let's make a party every night in somebody else's house. But be'etzim, there's no nothing. But what's the unique in the actual mitzvah? The one mitzvah of Hanukkah is to light candles. And it's a very interesting mitzvah. The Gemara says it splits into different categories. Really, all you got to do is light one candle. Not each person light a candle. One candle for the whole house. You have 50 people living in the house, just light one candle. And over here, I'm not going to go into the Gemara in the Machlokes Rishonim and how to explain the Gemara. If you do a hidur, so then you light one candle each night. Or one candle for each person in the household. One candle each night. Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel argue in which order, but the halacha we begin one, we go to 8. By the Seder, for example, right? So you use 3 matzot. There's no way in halacha it says use 1 matzah. V'amadrin 2 matzot. V'amadrin mina madrin 3 matzot. In every mitzvah, it says the mitzvah. You could do the mitzvah in a more elevated way. Zek keli vanveh. You could buy a more beautiful etrog. You could buy a nicer pair of tzitzit, a more mahudar, tefillin. But the mitzvah is the mitzvah. Suddenly, when it comes to these candles, why this mitzvah suddenly is such a big deal? And what's even more than that? In almost every halakha, straight through Shulchan Aruch, obviously not things that have to do with emunah and the foundations of that, but the practical halakha. Let's say Ilchot Shabbat. If you go through Shulchan Aruch and Ilchot Shabbat, almost everything has some machloket poskim. Meaning there's always a way that you can do it better. There's no end. The sky's the limit. But the majority of the people don't. To the point that even in halakha it says that. Koach de'tera adifa. When a rabbi is posek halachot, if he's a Talmid Chacham and he has shoulders and he's qualified, and he has a way to be mekel, to make it easier for the people, he has to teach the people the easier way. Because koach de'tera, the power of saying eter, adifa, is preferable over being machmir. Chamavadi used to say in shiurim, when they would finish dayanut, when they would become dayanim, so he would tell them, I think I said this in shiurim in the past many times, definitely in Lakewood, but I think here as well, that he would try to teach them the importance of koach de'tera. So he would tell them, there was once a guy, a rabbi, who, today we don't know this, because if there is a kosher butcher and we go to him, so he gives us the meat and it's already good to go. And if not, and we say we do it at home, then it's just not kosher anyway. But because we don't know, we're not trained, we're not qualified, stop fooling yourselves. You can't bring a shochet to your house to slaughter something and think you're going to kosher it. It doesn't work like that. That's one big ifkirut. And one big ifkirut. But, if you go to a guy who's Yirei Shamayim, a real kosher place, so we get the meat ready. So today there's no ladies that go to rabbis with chickens to ask them if it's kosher or not. But not that many years ago, that was a very common practice. You went to the shochet, you got from him the chickens, and then some had questions in halakha. So you had to go to the rabbi. Is there a problem? Isn't there a problem? The kosher is not. To the point that the Chazal teaches that there's going to be a point in Jewish history, Tavo Isha va'of bi'adah, that a woman will come with a chicken to ask halakha if it's kosher or not, and the rabbi won't know. You have to understand what that means. But there'll be confusion in Psak halakha and Am Yisrael. That's one of the prophecies of Chazal and Yemot HaMashiach. Could be today we see it clearly. So Chava used to say there was a guy who got a job as a rabbi, but he knew him. He was an honest guy to himself, not to others, but to himself. And he knew he wasn't qualified, and he didn't know anything. So he said, "What's going to be? They're going to come to him with halakha questions. He doesn't know anything. What's he going to say?" So he went to one of his friends and he said, "You have a solution for me?" So he said, "Yeah. What questions are they going to ask you? You know, he's asking you a question. What questions do they have?" They said, "What do you mean? The chickens, that? If it's kosher meat, is it not kosher?" He said, "I have a perfect solution." So he said, "What?" He said, "When you get the job, bring together with you to your office a dog." They said, "What does a dog have to do with anything?" He said, "Well, it's a pasuk in the Torah. That God gave a reward to the dogs that they didn't bark when we left Egypt, that the nevela we give to the dogs." So every time a lady comes with a question on a meat, take it to the side room where the dog is, put it in front of him. If he eats it, it's a nevela, it's not kosher. If he doesn't eat it, it's kosher, give it back to him. He said, "I love the idea. Love it." That's what he did. Takes the dog, goes to the side. A few months later, his friend met him. He said, "Buddy, how's the dog system working?" So he said, "I'll tell you the truth, it's unbelievable. It solved my problem. Every question goes to the dog." He said, the only issue is the women are complaining that the dog is always machmir. He always says it's not kosher and he eats it. Rav used to look at these young dayanim and say, somebody who by him everything's asur is a dog. Koach te'era adifa, be a talmid chacham. Know how to be mekel, know how to make it easier for people, not harder. But, of course, the chachamim for themselves took very stringent rulings for themselves. They just didn't impose it on other people. Chametziona Bashaul Zitzal, Zechuda again Aleinu, in his kitchen used to have 2 sets of pots. One that he ate from, and one that his family ate from. Because he had certain stringencies that he kept in kashrut for himself, and his family didn't keep it. His wife said to cook 2 suppers is double the work. We'll just do it your way. What do we need double for? So he said he doesn't agree. So he said, why don't you agree? It'll make it easier. So he said, because if you're going to do it my way, then our son, they only had 1 child, is going to grow up thinking that al pi halacha, that's what you have to do. And that's wrong. Al pi halacha, that's not what you have to do. I want to be machmir for myself. Let him grow up knowing that halacha says it's okay. His father happened to be a machmir. And for that, it was worth it for him to cause his wife to work double as hard. Maybe that's why they merited to such a gaon olam. Hashem should watch over him and give him a long, happy life. Amen. Maybe that's why, because they raised him day one as what's right and wrong. A close friend of mine, who was today a very big Yirei Shamayim, but went through very tough periods in his life, shared with me an amazing thing once. He said that the day that everything he learned in his home, Judaism-wise, went all out the window, instantly, wasn't the day he decided to rebel or to go do crazy things, or to be a drug addict. No, he wasn't like that. He was an intelligent, high-class person. He never went to the streets. He said it was the day that he started learning in yeshiva on his own. He said, what does that mean? If anything, if you started learning, that should make you stronger, not weaker. They said, I came to yeshiva, I was in 10th grade, and I started learning halakha. And I learned halakha, hilchot netilat yadayim, when you have to wash your hands, when not. And when you have to wash your hands, when do you need to use a cup, and when don't you need to use a cup. And I revealed that al pi halakha, when you come out of the restroom, you don't need to use a cup. You stick your hands under the water, you want dry hands, and that's good enough. You say, it's not bread, it's not in the morning. He said, in all my years at home, my parents raised me, you have to wash with a cup. And when I didn't, my mother would yell at me, hey, you came out of the bathroom, why didn't you wash with a cup? He said, and at that moment, everything I learned my entire childhood went out the window instantly. I said, because if they lied to me on this, so everything is a lie. And he said, unfortunately, instead of realizing, so now learn more and figure it out the right way, I said, forget about the whole thing, and I went in a different direction. Today's a huge talmid chacham. How careful you have to be when you say over something to know how to differentiate. This is the halacha, this is chumrah, this is a minhag, this is chasidut, this is what's better to do maybe. It's not halacha. It's not what you have to do. Because the moment you don't know how to explain clearly what you have to and what you don't have to, is the moment that the kids are never going to take anything anymore seriously. Because it's all a joke at that point. Because you're not giving over the Torah in an honest way. When it comes to the candles of Hanukkah, every Jewish home, it goes to the point that if not for the fact that the boys learn in yeshiva, the Gemara Masechet Shabbat that talks about the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah, we would think that the halacha says you have to light 1, 2, 3 to 8. Nobody would even know that there's another option. When the mitzvah is not like that. Mitzvah Ner Chanukah, Ner Ishu Beito, 1 candle for the whole household. Why dafka this mitzvah, out of all the mitzvot, and it's not even a mitzvah d'oraita, it's just from the Chachamim, became a mitzvah that the whole Am Yisrael universally does mehadrim mina madrim, the best way, to an extreme. The only mitzvah. It will be so much more important in theory to be machmir in Mechot Shabbat, which can be sfekot d'oraita all the time. This is a chumrah on a mitzvah v'drabanan, and not a chumrah, a siyag de siyag, like a double addition. It's not just a hidur on a hidur. Why this? Sfarim HaKadoshim talk about it. And it's amazing. They say an unbelievable thing. When we look in the Gemara that says the story of Hanukkah, so the Gemara concludes that after they had the miracle of the Pach Shemen, Kav'un ve'asum yamim tovim behalel ve'hoda'ah. kavum, they made a kviyut, they established, ve'asum, and they made, yamim tovim, the Hanukkah should be days of Yom Tov, happy days. Behalel, behoda'ah. That's the only criteria. Two variations of the same term of praising Hashem. Take 8 days out of your life that are dedicated 100% to praise God. Comes up Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Shlomo Zalman wasn't a ish Chassidut. He had the Chassidic genes in him, by the way, but he didn't say Chassidish Torah. He said he was ish halakha. He wrote Shuvot in halakha. He was the master of halakha. So in Chat Shlomo, that's his sefer, Shuvot in halakha, in Tanina, in Siman Nun Chet. Yes, Siman Nun Chet. So Rav Auerbach writes an unbelievable thing. I think he writes that Lakat Ner Chanukah Hi Atzma Hoda'a V'Halel, that lighting the candles of Hanukkah, that is one of the ways of praising God and thanking God for all the miracles. Kilomah, meaning to say, Sha'al Yidei Zeh Yiten El Libo Le'odot V'Hashem. Those candles are there to remind you to praise God on Nisim HaGdolim She'asa Lanu B'Nitzachon HaMilchamot, on the great miracles that He did for us in our victories at war. And he continues to explain where he gets that from, and he adds on, that's why in Birkat HaMazon we also say the same idea, and then he concludes. And he says, Kol Ikar HaHadlaka, the entire idea, the main idea of the candle lighting is lehodot, to praise, la'alel, to say halel, to be thankful, u'lefarsem nes ha'yeshua va'atzala, and to publicize the miracle of the salvation. What does that mean? So when we light candles, the mitzvah is not lighting candles. That's the action. The mitzvah is to utilize that light as a light to light up your life and your brain to understand, to praise God and to thank God. That's what it really says over here. If that's the case, comes Rav Auerbach and continues, and he says that's why Am Yisrael took upon themselves as a custom that they're going to do it the best way. Because thank you has to be done best, more than all other mitzvot in the Torah. Gratefulness, to be gratitude, hakarat tov, that has to be done in the best way. More important than all the other mitzvot. All the other mitzvot, koach de'terah adifa, we look for the leniency. But you got the mitzvah of being thankful to Hashem, of hakarat tov, that's it. Over there you got to take it all the way. What do you say? How deep? How deep? The moment a person is a kfui tovah, he doesn't appreciate life and what he's given. He takes life for granted. From there, Sefer HaChinuch writes, he brings us down to mitzvah kibbud avayim. To become an apikoros is very quick. And his way of explaining it is, if you could be kofeh betovato shel chaveiro, if you can deny the fact that you owe gratitude to somebody who did you a favor, your friend, then it's very easy to be kofel betovato shel makom, to become an atheist, to go against God. The downhill spiral from there is as quick as could be. Rav Auerbach was the one who said this about Hanukkah, so I'll tell you what I witnessed with my own eyes. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. One of the many days that he came home from Kol Torah to his house, his wife had already passed, a little while before, a bunch before, and so the boys, two boys would escort him. One of the guys' names was Yossi Suisa. He had the schut to be mishamesh a lot of tzaddikim. First Rav Auerbach, and then later on Mordechai Eliyahu and others. He had a schut. And then there was another guy also, and then I don't have the name of the other guy because they would rotate. Yossi was permanent, and there was a second one that would tag along always. And there was a new boy who, it was like a fight almost, like to have the merit to go home with Rav Auerbach and to escort him home. And when this new boy walked him up to the house and was going to open the door for him of his house. Rav Auerbach held his hand and said, "Please don't open the door." And he said, "Why not?" He thought maybe it's locked. He said, "Rabbi, if it's locked, give me the key, I'll open it." He said, "Because if you open the door, you're doing me a favor. And now I'm going to owe you hakarat tov." He said, "I'm an old man already. I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. I have no way to be sure that I have enough years in my life left to pay you back for the favor that you just did me. So I can't die with a debt on my head." That's the Gdol Ador. Did the boy feel he's doing him a favor when he opened the door for him? Just the opposite. It's the biggest favor for the boy. He feels like $1 million. He had the schut to open the door for Rav Auerbach. Imagine a guy would tell his son today, "I had the schut to open the door for Shlomo Zalman Auerbach." He would brag. I don't have enough years left in my life, he told him, in order to be able to pay you back. And if that's the case, I can't die with a debt. Please don't open the door, let me open it myself. Big deal, the guy only put me in business. The guy only put you in business. That means you owe him your life. The guy only did this for me, only did that. And they have complaints. Why didn't he do more? Huh? So he owes you something? Guys, girls, the day we'll have a good life is the day we realize nobody owes you a thing. Nobody. Not God, not your wife, not your husband, not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend, not your father, not your mother, not your children. Nobody owes you a thing. You know my favorite example? Because sometimes we have to remind it. You come home at night if you're married and you have supper on the table, you quit, and then you came home a different night, you didn't have supper on the table. The question shouldn't be, why don't I have supper? On the night that you came home and there is supper, the question is, well, she doesn't work for me, why do I have supper? And if your question is, why don't I have supper, you're really sick. And you got to get a lot of help. And I mean that so literally, wasn't exaggerating one word. You got to get a lot of help. Somebody owes you something? Somebody works? What? This world of entitlement. Everything's owed. And then everybody's walking around depressed. Today they came here, we had a meeting earlier today, we got to open a new drug rehab program here, emergency, this, that, because every few weeks we have a new crisis, God forbid, and that's a wake-up call. I said, guys, you know, we're opening so many drug rehabs and we're just losing more and more lives. It's not working. Maybe if instead of wasting all that money, I don't mean wasting, God forbid, these kids are victims of terrible things and we have to help them in any way, shape, and form at any price. Last week when I had a kid that had to go to rehab and the parents couldn't afford it, and I tried to raise money for it, and people didn't want to give me money because they told me, because he's a drug addict, I have to donate. So I walked into the shul, I took out the Sefer Torah in public on Shabbat, and I told them we're selling the Sefer Torah. They said, what do you mean? I said, Hashem doesn't need a Sefer Torah at the expense of a kid that can't go to rehab. We're selling the Sefer Torah, and we're putting the kid in rehab. Suddenly everybody was able to donate. They had money suddenly. I don't know, somehow, and this happened. We had Hanukkah early this year. Some miracle happened. Last week or 2 weeks ago this happened. But guys, yeah, this is we need them. It's not a joke. There's no game over here. Fine. But I said, but that costs already tens of thousands a month. And the success rates are tiny. And the relapse rates are huge. And then. We would take all those millions that we put in every year for this and maybe start investing it in a prevention program. And then suddenly we might see a whole different result. And the prevention program is going to be teaching kids two things. That there's somebody out there cares about them, and if their own parents unfortunately don't, there should be somebody else to take the place of them. And then nobody owes you anything in the world. And go earn your life. The sneakers and the fanciest clothes. I could be happy without it. And maybe if I did suffer as a child and I did go through a few traumatic things, I can also realize that there's a point in life that it's okay to move on. It's not a tragedy to sometimes close pages and not hold vengeance forever. And no, I'm not undermining any youngsters suffering, because some kids suffer life stories that we should never know. But the entitlement equals depression. Because no, the world is not going to provide you everything you think you're entitled to. On any front. So you're always going to be sad. You're always going to be a miserable person. And the day a person's willing to make that switch and realize nobody owes me a thing, is the day he becomes a happy person. Suddenly there's like a relief. It's like breathe. Now we can start life. Torah teaches this to us. Yaakov Yagen had a dream. He saw a sulam, a ladder, mutzav alza, on the ground, v'rosho magia shamayma. And the top of the ladder was all the way up in heaven. I want to ask you something. Mainly the fact that the sulam was rosho magia shamayma, that's a chidush, that's a unique thing. You see a ladder that's in heaven, right? That would be a reason to have such a dream. But normally a ladder is on the ground, that's normal. Every ladder is on the ground. And the Torah doesn't add extra words. So what was important to tell us that the sulam was mutzav alza, was on the ground? What was important about that? We could have done without that information. That's a no-brainer, obviously. There's a ladder, it's on the ground. And the Torah had to stress that. So I have a few pshatim on this subject. Two that I want to mention. One, I heard from Yaakov Yagen. Came one day to the office for fundraising. We gave him a nice contribution, and then we told him, Rabbi, there's no free rides in America. You got money, now give us back something good. Can't walk out without giving us a good chidush. And it was this week's parasha, I don't know, 9 or 10 years ago, probably, maybe more by now. No, more than 10 years ago by now, probably. 11 years ago, I think. He gave us a good chidush. He said, Parashat Vayetze, listen to this. And he asks us this question. So I was like, yeah, I never thought of that. Why did the Torah say that? He said, because what was Hashem telling him in the dream? How to obtain high spiritual levels. So he showed him a ladder, the climbing ladder to get to the highest spiritual level possible. He told him, Yaakov, you should know that the first rule in order to be able to get the high spiritual levels is sulam mutzav outside, is to be grounded. Don't live in fantasy world. Don't think you're holy. Don't think you're great. Be down to earth. Be part of society. Be part of the world. Understand the world. Be mutzav outside. Be found. Be on the ground. And climb from the ground up. But the day you live in imagination, so your Judaism is also an imagination already. Sometimes I see people by the prayer, and they I don't know what they rely on, maybe some het and halacha, but they're saying a prayer, and they repeat the same word 7-8 times in a row. So I always go over to them. I said, why did you repeat it? I'm curious. Explain me. So they said, because I didn't have kavanah the first time. I said, so tell me what kavanah you had time number 7. I want to know for myself, so next time I'll do it time number 1 already. Not kavanah, not the first time, not the 7th time. He's living in some fantasy. He wants to look holy. He thinks it's cool. But come on, get with the program. Hashem told Yaakov Avinu, you want to grow in life? Be grounded. Don't live in fantasy. Be grounded. Sulam mutzav arza. Be established. Rosho magia shamayim. Base it off of seichel, not off of. That was Rav Yaakov Yagen's pshat. Mine's very sharp and a little bit harsh. But I think over here there's another thing also. It doesn't. Because Baruch Hu told Yaakov Avinu, if you want to succeed in life, before Rosho Magia Shamayma, before your head could be in the clouds, which is our expression of feeling great, you have to first realize Sulam Mutzav Alza, how blessed you are in what, to you take for granted, the ground that you step on, in the bare minimum. If you can't respect the bare minimum, you're never going to get to a point that you're happy up there. Because it makes no difference at that point. Nothing's ever going to be good enough. And how does it work? When a young boy is... I'll tell you a story this week. I hope my son doesn't listen to this because he'll kill me for saying it, but it's cute anyway. One day my 7.5-year-old, he's almost 8 by now already, he's my youngest, calls me up. Daddy, I want to ask you for something. I need something. So this is a daily occurrence. Every day he wants something else. He wants a lawnmower. Where do they get these ideas from? I thought maybe he wants one of these new games, gadgets, whatever. I don't know. God knows what comes out now. But lawnmower, out of all things, a lawnmower. I said, what are you going to do with a lawnmower? I'm going to cut the grass. I said, well, we have a landscaper who gets paid. And he does a great job. The grass is beautiful. I'll cut the grass again. But he comes every week. It doesn't. He wants a lawnmower. No. Okay, he's not getting a lawnmower. It's not happening. If he would be a little young guy, I could get away with those kids' lawnmowers that make bubbles and that. It would be cute, but he's too old for that already, so I can't even buy him that way. So I tell him, listen, Ben, a lawnmower is not an option, so let's right now close this conversation, and if you want something, whatever, I would love to buy you something. Let's find something else that makes more sense. No, I need a lawnmower. And he's stubborn on that, to the point that later on my wife told me, Hashem, he put up a whole tantrum, and I already pre-warned him that there's going to be a tantrum and everything, and it's fine, because the lawnmower just doesn't make sense, and in life we do what makes sense. So my wife tells me later on an amazing thing. She says that throughout his tantrum, he comes back there, and he's a smart kid. Then he tells Mom, okay, so today I can't get a lawnmower, I understand, but when can I? When can I? Not that it's, when can I? tells him back, one day you'll get married. You live in your own house. In your house, if you want to do your lawn yourself. So then he tells us, so when am I getting married? And I think to myself, Alavai, Hashem should help that when he gets married, his marriage is a little beyond the lawnmower. Yeah. So that's 7.5. What do you think in a year from now it's going to be? He's going to want a snow, I don't know what. That's why I say I hope he doesn't listen to this. He should get ideas from me now. He's going to want a snow blower, I don't know what, God knows what. And then a year later, it's going to be, by then there'll be an iPhone XX, or I don't know what they'll be up to. And then a year later, it'll be the next. So, when will be the day they'll say, Baruch Hashem, I have everything. I got it all. Yeshli kol. There'll never be such a day. And what's the proof that we have an economy? If people would say I have, we wouldn't have an economy. Tonight, in 35 or 40 degrees, whatever it is, there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lunatics fighting to get into Walmarts and outlet malls and Best Buys to buy something that they don't need, that they'll never use, at a fake discount of a price that was inflated and later down cut down. It's not hundreds of thousands, it's millions. And this is already in the cyber era, where you also have the Cyber Monday, which already became a Cyber Month, not just a Monday anymore, and you can buy the same thing, but still that experience of waiting in traffic and fighting and getting in. And I got that dumb screen that I'm never going to use in my life because it doesn't work anyway, and it's just some closeout or something that they were stuck with that they put on sale at a cheap price. And what's the saddest part? At 3 a.m., you're going to, well, none of you, I don't think, have Instagram, Baruch Hashem, but the goyim that have Instagram are going to see their friends posting what they got too. That's how retarded society became. What? What's left? I'm the idiot who in 40-degree weather waited outside and what? That's what your life revolves around? But listen to the amazing thing. When does this minhag akum happen? Thanksgiving weekend. Meaning the guy shows you right away, don't think I meant my thank you. 5 minutes later, I already have to run away from my dinner because I need more. I don't have what I want. Because Black Friday could have been any Friday of the year. Say it has to do with Christmas. If anything, they should have made it a month ago. We'll give them a longer holiday shopping season. Hashem gave it to their mind, right? Hashem said, don't even believe them the one day a year that they say is a day that they give thanks. Because the same night, they're going to wait for freezing cold weather because they need more. It's never enough. That's the real reason. Comes like Baruch and tells Yaakov Avinu, if you can't understand how beautiful the Aretz is, you'll never get the Shemayim. If you can't understand how beautiful the dust is, the simple things in life, you'll never get high. If you can understand the simple things, then you can already get to a point that you can get to a high level, that you can grow. I think that's a very deep shot. And that dream later on carries Am Yisrael throughout the generations. If you look in the Midrash, you'll see an amazing thing, and I'll say this very briefly. This is based on the teachings of the Rav Yaakov Yagen, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. Rav Yaakov Yagen says an amazing thing, that the Midrash says that by Brit Bein HaBtarim, God told Abraham Avinu, he pretty much predicted the exile and the suffering of the Jews, not only Egypt. If you look good in the Rishonim, he predicted the exile of all the exiles. The Midrash says more open words, exactly what he told him. So he told him that Am Yisrael has two severe challenges that they may have to face. One is exile, and the other one is Gehenna. I don't know what that is, so we'll leave that as a blank. I don't want to know what it is either ever, so we'll leave it as a double blank. But the protection, the insurance policy is two other things. Torah and Korbanot. Today there's no Korbanot, it's prayer. Torah and Korbanot. is the solution for that. There's another midrash that says, Vayitzei Yaakov, comes from midrash and says, before Yaakov Avinu left, Yitzchak called him and told him this. You should know that my father, meaning your grandfather, God told him that the Jews are going to be exiled. And be aware of it. And know that when Jews are in exile, they have a very simple way to solve it. And that's to be involved with Torah and Korbanot, meaning prayer. That's what he told. It's a midrash in this week's parasha. Yaakov Avinu took that information and went on. Chazal say that when Yaakov Avinu had the dream was a result that he asked God, explain me, what does it mean? Like, how does the formula work? What is it that they told me? What was I just taught? So Hashem told him, very simple, it comes to the Rosh Hashanah, says, Sulam Utzav Alza. There are times that you're going to feel in the dumps. But if you'll put your head into the right thing, you can climb right out of it, and a Jew in 1 second can turn around from the lowest to the highest in every way in the world. That is the DNA of being Am Yisrael. By Jews, there's no... If we needed a way to see Hashem, Yad Hashem, not that we're lacking ways, but you take Israel, it's a 69-year-old state. We're going to have a 70th birthday this year. That's a little bit scary, by the way, because the Chazon Ish writes 55 years ago that he thinks that Israel is a thing that God gave for 70 years. I'm not sure what he meant by that, but that's a little frightening. But anyway, that wasn't my point. That was just by the way. I think that what it means is Mashiach's going to come before then, hopefully before, Mashiach will come. At this point, I don't think he has much of a choice. He has to come if he wants anybody to come too. So, they're saying opiate pandemic, so we're going to have a brain damage pandemic. He has to just show up and end the whole story and make things happy on this world. But one way or the other, here's a nation that comes after World War II, had a third of its nation wiped out, the rest scattered all over the world, people depressed, persecuted, suffering, horror, hell, fear, and everything else. The general world situation is not that well either. Get a state, and in 70 years of the empire of technology, cybersecurity, agriculture, and many medicine in certain areas, and many other things of the world. The world today are relying on Israel for so many different things. The majority of cybersecurity in the entire globe is done through Israeli companies. Meaning the fact that nobody hacked your bank account and you still have money in the bank is because some kid in Israel is protecting it. And that's why as much as the world will talk against Israel, in reality everybody wants Israel to be as is. In Spain, in the last technology show, out of 46,000 patented technological inventions that were presented, obviously they weren't presented individually, it was a very large convention, many panels and convention halls and everything else. 22,000 were Israeli patents. That means close to 50% of last year's technology of the world that's going to market was from a country that's under 70 years old, that's constantly at war, that has problems from here to the sky, that can't have two politicians that get along with each other, that has a parliament that has chairs screwed into the floor because if not they would go flying every day. And these young kids, from the ashes and the dust of the worst horror in the world, raise themselves to dominating the technology of the world. What is that? So people say very freely, a Yiddish cup. What does it mean, a Yiddish cup? It's a promise that Hashem gave Yaakov Avinu, Sulam Utzav Alza, that even when a person he's in the dumps, or Shomak Yashamayim, use your head, stay focused on your goal, and you can get right up there, right back again. There's never a point that there's no hope. There's never a point that it's over. There's always another chance. There's always another chance. And that's the way a Jew has to think. Like that, you never give up, and then life's not so bad, and everything's just temporary, and suddenly the world's a much more beautiful place, and then that somebody told you something stupid or insulted you, so what? So he's the idiot, not you, so you don't have to stoop to an idiot's level. And I wanted to really show it to somebody. in a very graphic way. I think it was last week. So he was an acquaintance of mine. He's very bent out of shape by something that is maybe not so intelligent, Aunt told him in public. And it really embarrassed him and hurt his feelings and shattered him. And he came crying to me about it, and I told him, come, I want to go on a little trip with you. So I took him a few miles away from where I live, well, more than a bunch, to an area that, let's just say, the average education there probably ends somewhere between first and third grade. And the only thing that they have is they're very talented in one area. They know how to stick needles into themselves, otherwise known as heroin addicts. The heroin population is probably over 90% over there. And I'm not judging them, It's unfortunate. They're not Jews, but it doesn't make a difference. These are humans that are self-destructive. But for tragic reasons. They were raised with nothing better, no better alternative. Nobody wants to give them a chance. Now, it's a dangerous neighborhood. We get there, and I tell him it's going to walk. And he tells me, what, are you crazy? I'm not getting out of the car. I said, why not? Stop being such a, He said, because they can mug us. He said, well, what do we have, $20 on us? Big deal. So they'll take the $20 that we have. Not the end of the world. I said, if you're really so scared, you could leave your $20 in my glove compartment. Let's be real. So he said, what do you want to go to work for? I said, I want you to hear how many derogatory comments you're going to hear in the next 3 minutes. He said, what does that mean? I said, let's make a scientific experiment. You and me, we're going as friends to make a scientific experiment. And we walked down the street, and we were keepers, and our skin color was white. And we were called anything from white boys to Jew boys to God knows how many other names, and many of them that I can't repeat because, it's a synagogue and we don't talk that way. And this was in a matter of a few minutes, not even a long time. And we came back to the car, and I said, okay, we're going home. So he looks at me and he says, are you crazy? Are you bored? You're a busy guy. This is what you have to do with me now? I said, why aren't you insulted? You know what names we were just called? We were accused for being the worst people in the world. He said, these are street bums. I said, guess what? Remember this for the rest of your life. Anybody who's willing to stoop to the level of saying something negative to you is a street bum. Because a human doesn't say something negative to somebody else. And therefore, there's no reason to ever get insulted again. Chazal say that somebody who says something negative to somebody else and causes them to get embarrassed is a lotzeach, is a murderer. Right? We learned it in the parasha. Tamar was willing to die with 2 babies, 3 lives to go to death, just not to hurt Yehuda's feelings. So you care what a murderer has to say about you? Murderer. Therefore what? So a murderer said something. Congrats. Some guy on death row is going to call you a name 2 minutes before they put him the lethal injection in him. It's going to affect you? No. This guy's a murderer. Well, the Torah calls somebody who calls somebody else a name or insults somebody else a murderer. So now you have to care every stupid thing that somebody said? He said, you know what, you're right. It's unfortunate that my aunt's a murderer, but okay. Every Jew has hope, maybe one day she'll do tshuva. And suddenly he had a smile and he came back to himself and he wasn't insulted and everything was beautiful. Then I told her, now you want to be an elevated person? Now you're not angry at her anymore, right? You're calm? Yeah. So now send that message that you love her also, why not? He said, what do you mean? I said, it's your aunt, you love her, right? If God forbid something happened to her today, you would shed a tear. So, now grow up also once we're at it. And it went into him. You got it. So you got to stoop to every nutcase's level. So he said, so she said, so this one did, so this one that. So for what? So it's only for one reason, because you're not grounded. You don't realize the reality of life. The way Hashem shows you the way life really is. And again, entitlement. You expect that everybody has to treat you a certain way. Now Hashem does expect that of people, but who are you to expect that? Don't expect that. You expect, you have disappointments. When you're walking with no expectations to something, you have no disappointments. I'll prove this to you in one sentence and then we're done. I hope you all go on vacation once in a while. It's a very healthy thing to do. That's what the doctors claim, at least. Change of scenery, a break, this, that. It's extremely important. Now, some people vacation half the year. I don't know how good that is. But once in a while, it's a good thing to do. Very important thing to do. I remember 7 years ago, I had the schut of founding a fund which believe it or not today is extremely large and successful. And when I founded it, the attacks that I got was unreal, and that's how I knew it was an important thing to do. We founded a fund that gives vouchers to call up students' families in the summer, Ben Azmanim, to go on vacation. Paid hotel and car rental and this and that, the whole thing, everything paid, beginning to end. And people say, what type of crazy charity? That's not charity, that's this, that's that. Until the rabbis right away say, what do you mean that's not charity? You need to go to the Bahamas and to Florida and to Cancun and to here and to there. And this guy who learns 15, 16 hours a day doesn't need a break for 2 days. It's the biggest charity. But pay attention. If you went on 4 vacations in the past year, I hope you did less than that, because that would be really a waste of time. See how many of them you planned and how many of them were spontaneous. And now let's decide which ones you enjoyed better, the planned ones or the spontaneous ones. And almost all of society will admit that the spontaneous ones always worked out better. You know why? Because you didn't have 3 weeks before to fantasize what your vacation should be. So whatever it was great. It wasn't expected. But if you, it's always like that. But if you went on to one of these apps, last second deal, I don't know what, so your friend sent you a link from Dan's Deals of $39 tickets from JetBlue to go to Florida, and you ended up in Florida that afternoon, and when you landed, he's like, what did I just do? You come back 2 days later, you're happy, you had a blast. Because you had no expectation, so whatever it was just great. In one case, you thought you were entitled, because your brain already trained you 3 weeks before. I booked such an expensive hotel, I booked such an expensive airline, I booked. So now every tiny thing is one big aggravation. And the other one, there was no entitlement. It is what it is, and now everything's fun, it's great. I have an acquaintance, I'm not saying this will work for every family, so it's not a general idea, who takes his kids a lot on vacations whenever needed, whatever, when they're off from school and stuff. And they always ask him, where are we going to? And he tells them, I don't know. And he's not lying to them. He doesn't know. He says, I get into the car, we drive to the airport, and we figure it out in the airport. He said, even that hour time, I'm scared of. He said, because if we go to Miami, and the kids say, why don't we go to Orlando? If we go to Orlando, why don't we go? If it was last second, it was a unanimous decision. This is what was available at a decent price that we can afford. This is where we're going. And they have fun every single time. Now, again, I'm not saying that's practical and realistic for most families, but the attitude is practical straight across the board. One of the crimes of cookbooks is that they shatter people's self-confidence. Because this man or woman who put out the cookbook is A, a trained professional chef, and B, has trained graphic artists. And they sat and took a cake and photoshopped it 800 times and made it look so perfect that even in a million years of imagination, it's impossible to make such a thing. And then the poor guy or girl went in the kitchen and worked for 2 hours and followed everything with a measuring cup down to a science. They were weighing on a scale. They were Googling what's a teaspoon and what's a tablespoon. And it doesn't look the same. And boom, I can't bake. No, they're selling you a lie. That doesn't exist. That's a graphics artist. That's not a real thing. Second of all, and let's say that one did come out that way, so yours also has to be. So you got, so therefore, so you also have to. A shoe salesman told me a frightening thing this week. Guy owns a big shoe store. Unfortunately, I have to admit, it's in the town that I live in. And he's more successful than some of the other guys. And he told me, you know how I do it? I said, how do you do it? He said, when I bring in, if I get a good deal on like some cool sneaker, and I want to blow it out, I want to sell it, I want to make, because these are my high margins, the shoes that I make 20% on, those I don't care about. Something like this that I could do 80, 90% margins on, that's why I want to make money. So, but how am I going to get the clients? I'm going to advertise and advertise, that cuts your margins right away. Customer acquisition is very expensive. So I take 10 pairs, I go to 10 boys' schools, I look for 10 kids that I see are wearing junky, old-fashioned sneakers, so they're probably from families that can't afford better. And I give them a gift, a pair of these sneakers. And within 48 hours, I'm sold out. Because every kid goes home to his mother and says, if that kid has it, I definitely need it. And he says, and it works like a science every single time. Like a science, he told me. So instead of spending thousands of dollars in ads for weeks, 48 hours, you should know you're an evil person. It's really vicious. He says, no, it's business. It's marketing. It's it's okay. It's me. I don't know if I agree or disagree ethically. That's definitely one day we'll maybe have a class about ethics and to have an open discussion if that's okay or not okay to do. But the idea, so the other person has, and therefore what? So now you have to have also. How did the tzaddikim do it? Let me tell you how the tzaddikim did it. My uncle's itself, Rav Nissim, he once went out to a restaurant, which was a big chiddush because he didn't go out to restaurants because he didn't trust the kashrus. So there was one restaurant in Tveria that he trusted the kashrus. So. And once we were up north there, Rosh Chodesh praying, whatever, and I told him, listen, you're an angel, you don't need to eat. I'm human, I need food. It's been a whole day, we're going to a restaurant. Thank God we're in a town that hasn't even a restaurant that's kosher for you. Let's go there. He says, yeah, we're going. We went to the restaurant. It's just him and me. He takes a menu, I take a menu, I order, he orders. He orders like three or four different things, and I order like one thing. And I'm the one who's complaining I'm hungry. Food comes, or the beginning of it, and everything that he gets, he points to the waiter and he tells him it's for him. Is it for me? And he looks at me and he says, Yaakov, I'm fasting today. It's Erev Rosh Chodesh. I fast every Erev Rosh Chodesh. I wanted to bury myself. I was looking for like the ground to open. So I said, so why'd you order? I'm not eating 5 things. He said, listen, you never ate here before. I eat here because it's the only restaurant in Israel that I trust. I know what's on the menu good and what's not, and you need good food. You said you're hungry. So I sat with you, we worked it out, I gave you good consulting. Eat, take your time, when we're done, we'll go back to Jerusalem. When you're fasting, you want somebody eating nice lamb chops, baby lamb chops right in your face, hot off the grill? I don't think so. I wouldn't want that. And he's ordering it for me, because that's what you need. It's not about what I need, it's about what you need. That's when you don't feel entitled. That's when you feel that you're privileged to take care of somebody else's need. That's an Adam Gadol. Because Baruch should help that we should take the Beis Yisrael's advice. 60% of our life at least should go to Hoda'ah, and in that case, for sure, the other 40% will always be successful, Be'ez Hashem, and our prayers will be answered always. And this month of Kislev should bring with it a lot of light and all of them. Ruchaniyut, Begashmiyut, B'simcha, V'chol Tu, Amen v'Amen.